I have a confession. 2 days ago, I forgot to wear sunscreen. But I keep a powder one in my car, so it was okay.
The day was saved.
Hi, I'm Sybil Solon. I'm an esthetician and spa owner.
Hi, I'm Alex Ellis, and I'm a body nerd and wellness expert, and we are business besties.
And bosses, running your own business, it's hard.
But we're terrible employees, so we're figuring it out.
I've already figured it out, but we promise to share everything we know about what it takes to get 6 figures.
And be brutally honest about what works and what totally sucks.
I'll be honest, a bunch of it sucks, so let's get started.
Welcome back to Skinfessional. On today's show, we are going to be talking about the 7 fears to beat to get you to 6-figure success. How to recognize them in ourselves, but most importantly,
how to overcome them.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most important thing. Wouldn't you say, Alex?
Oh, absolutely. These are, I'm really excited about this topic because these are definitely things that are going to be in your way. And they are things that affect all of us. And so the more we can talk about it, the more we can become aware of it and then actually move ourselves forward.
I know. I'm kind of getting nervous just thinking about them. Like, I know I'm getting kind of twitchy.
Oh, no. Already?
I am. These are things that I know for myself have been impediments for me. And although I've worked on them for years, they are still things that are worrisome to me and that I still battle to this day when I'm sitting around and I'll things that like, I'll be like, oh, I'm not doing this. And I'll make hashtag excuses. And then I'll look back at like these reasons. I'm like, oh, it's this one. It's this one. This is why I'm actually not doing this.
Yeah. And it comes up all the time. I was going to say, you don't ever have it all figured out. It's not one and done. This is a continual process of just refining and honing and checking back in with your routines and what you're doing and what's working and what's not working. And so we'll talk more about that in today's show as well.
Yes.
But I also wanted to share a recap, sort of, from our the last episode when we talked about failure specifically. And so one thing that's really important for me with this show is not only to talk about things that we're not talking about otherwise, but to take action on them. Because it's one thing to just like shoot the shit, but if you don't take action, like what's the point? I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste anybody's time. So when we talked about failure, I went home and I actually reached out to my mom, which in its own, we talked about shame a lot, and that was a big piece of it for me as well. But then I reminded myself that Kris Kardashian is the momager of all momagers.
Yes, she is.
Right? She manages all of her daughters, and obviously something is working. So if even at 31, I feel that I need to reach out to my mom because we have the relationship where I can be completely open and honest and sit across from her and bawl my eyes out and leave with a plan, then it's absolutely worth it. So I hope that episode, if you haven't listened to it, it was helpful. And we just like take action and share with us what action you've been taking or even where you're getting stuck to see collectively like how we can continue to make progress together.
So did you find that you had a lot of changes from the last episode? Did you take that conversation and implement new strategy?
Absolutely. So, when it comes to wellness and movement, I'm really good about accountability and having a plan and a program. And so I basically just got one organized for financials. And I've been really spending a lot of time getting comfortable with my numbers, which isn't something that I ever would have said. Like, I just started accounting a year ago. This is my first full year of accounting. But you have to start somewhere. And I also think it was a whole process to get to this point to where I could ask somebody else, hey, I need your help. Can you hold me accountable? And even push me a little bit, and I'm going to push back, but you need that. Like, that's what a coach is for. That's what a momager is for. And, healthy boundaries are important, of course, but I think that accountability piece.
It's totally true. Yeah. And it's good that you say things like, you like, I didn't know how and I needed to ask for help, because that is actually one of the kind of 7 fears that we need to beat.
Let's just dive in then.
I know. It's actually the very top one that I have, because I know that for me, saying that I don't know how to do something is really, really hard. Like, I don't mind like sitting and doing research and like finding it out on my own, but sometimes you need to ask for help.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what you're like, I had to ask for help. So you had not been asking for help because you're like...
No, I was hiding. I was pretending it didn't exist because, like we were talking about, acknowledging it, like, breathes life into this thing that we're afraid of.
Right. And I think that is, once again, these are things that we don't like to talk about and we're afraid of. It's these fears that kind of like hold us back. And they're, if you think about it, they're really ridiculous fears.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
They're completely ridiculous because if you ask somebody for help, it's very rare that they're like, nah, you go fuck yourself.
Yeah. No, that very, very, very rarely happens.
Right. Like most times people are like, of course I'm happy to help you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming to me. I'm really good at that. Or I needed help on something too. So let me do that. So speaking of things that help, I reached out to you and I was like, Alex, I need help on something. I need somebody to organize my crap for me.
I love spreadsheets.
I'm really bad at them. And I'm like, can we please sit down so that I can work on this because I'm so bad at it and I want to really organize my business and get it together for where I'm going next.
Yeah.
Because I'm a huge planner and the next thing I'm doing is too nebulous for me to kind of hold it all in my mind right now. And I need somebody who's going to help me with like that down and dirty, getting it down on paper.
I literally walked in today and was like, oh my God, so I laid out my whole idea with Post-it now?
This is 100% true. And I was just like, that sounds so boring.
Oh my God, it was just invigorating.
All right. So the reaching out to people for help. So if you're sitting and you're listening or you're watching and you're like, I don't know how to do something, okay? And you're like, I don't know how to do it. Before you just are like, I watched a YouTube video or, I went to research that. So much time gets sucked into us feeling like we have to go learn how to do something.
Or be like an expert before you do it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Where we can find somebody that we know who's really good at it. We can hire somebody to do it. And I know that especially estheticians and I'm sure other entrepreneurs, I'm sure you've been like, I don't want to hire.
Yeah.
Right. It's hard to find people. A lot of times I'm like, oh, hiring people is horrifying. But a lot of times we actually know that person. We can find the person to do it. And the money that we're putting out for that is actually going to save us on like our own costs because when you look at the money that you're saving in your time.
Absolutely.
When you break down, like I know for myself that I make X amount of dollars per hour. And therefore, if I even spend half of that by having somebody else do that job, I've still made a profit.
Right.
And I don't have the anxiety of doing that job anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, look at our bookkeeping. I hate bookkeeping. It makes me want to die.
It's a different brain. But I also think that, like, being an entrepreneur, and running your own business, like you have the certain skills to do that. And it doesn't mean you're excellent at everything. But it also doesn't mean that you can use, you can, but you shouldn't use I don't know as an excuse to not move forward.
That's true.
I do want to share a story about how I use this excuse. Not only that, I got another one. I got so many of them, you guys.
We all have
so
them.
Many.
I want to hear all of yours. I want these to pour in so that people don't feel alone.
No,
okay?
No, not alone. But before I started my solo podcast, The Body Nerd Show, it was an idea I'd been percolating with for years. And I was like, well, it's too complicated. I don't know how to do audio engineering. I can't do it. And when I actually sat down to do like a brain dump, so this is something I absolutely recommend if you have something where you're like, I don't even know where to start. Set a timer for 10 minutes, write down everything you can think of that's involved. And then for me, I realized, I know how to do 80% of these, and I know who I can ask or where I can go to get the rest of it. And now that I'm up and running with the podcast and now a second podcast, I'm like, this is so easy. What was I hesitant about before?
And I know that I asked Alex to come do a podcast with me because I felt that you were very good with me to do podcasting. You were the other side of me, but also you knew how to do a podcast. That was one less thing I needed to learn how to do.
It's the University of Google, I'm gonna say.
Right? Hey, I just want to say thanks so much for watching. I hope that you're liking our content. If you are, if you could just hit subscribe and maybe smash a like button because, it really helps us continue with this channel. Also, if you really are enjoying it, because we're really trying to put out great content for you, you could also just ring that little bell that's around there somewhere because we are absolutely going to continue to put out great content like this, and I would hate for you to miss any of it. So thanks again for watching.
I mean, that's the other thing, too, about we live in a time where information is aplenty, and anything you've ever wanted to know is literally at your fingertips on your phone. Like, you don't even need a computer. It's right
totally
there.
True. It's true. It's totally true. But at the same time, it will start to kind of, that power drags you down.
Yes.
Because you're like, I have to learn this new tool and I have to get really good at it. And like, if you're into, say, perfectionism, raise your hand out there if you're a perfectionist.
Raising my hand.
Right?
Raising my hand.
And like, I've always actually said that I'm not a perfectionist because I'm like, oh, no, I don't care. Like, it just has to be kind of done and it's fine. And there are things in my life where I'm like that. Where I'm like, it doesn't have to be perfect. But then there are other things in my life where I'll be like, oh, hell no. Oh, no, that has to be so good. It has to be, like, perfect. Like, it can't be launched until it's perfect.
Yeah.
And, I mean, down to, like, the perfect font, the perfect size, like, design things, I am so, like, weirdly keyed into. And so I've had to start kind of, like, being like, let it go, Sybil. Just let it go. You're just going to, oh, my God, you're just going to have to let it go. So let's talk for a second about perfectionism, because that is one of the 7 fears.
I totally agree with you too. Like, I'm not paralyzed by perfectionism. Like, I'm not afraid to, put up an imperfect Instagram post or send a newsletter that's, not great, or like hit live and just go live and my dog runs, that stuff doesn't bother me. But ask me how much time I've spent tweaking colors on a sales page, right? Like dumb stuff like that
or working
doesn't
on text,
matter.
Or working on text, like you.
Okay, how many times did we read those emails? Oh my God, yeah. And you know what's really interesting? I did another launch after that because I sat down with her and I read her like literally 13 emails. It was so laborious. And then the next one, I just guided people to an imperfect video, and I was like, just come watch a video. And I think people like actually opened and read those, and it took way less time.
Oh my God. And a lot of the times, like, she'll like read me these big, long emails where it has
tomes, is that the word?
Yeah, tomes. So much information in these emails. And I'll be like, so what's important in this is like these 4 sentences, right? So let's just like say this.
Yeah.
Right on. That sounds great because like nobody's reading that much text. Oh, dear Lord.
No.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Learning.
Right.
But that also, you have to let go of needing everything to be perfect before you share it out in the world, or you take that step, or you put it on your menu, or you do that thing, because what you offer is so important that it doesn't need to be perfect to be effective. And you can't know what works, what doesn't, unless you throw it out there and see what happens.
Yeah, I have a quote from Beth Moore, and I'm going to read it to you because it's one of my favorites. Actually, I have it on a Post-it note on my computer, and I try to live by it, and trust me, I don't live by it, but I try. So it's, insecurity's best cover is perfectionism. All right? So when you're sitting around being like, oh, I don't feel good about this. Like, it's not right. That is just your perfectionism getting in the way of you not doing the thing. Okay? And so when I hear myself say, I don't like this, it's not right, I sit back and I'm like, is it not right? Like, am I not okay with it as like my brand,
right?
Who I am, or am I not okay with it because it's not perfect?
Yeah.
Because it can become perfect, or am I just being a little bitch about this?
Yeah. That makes me think, too, of as far as, like, the gut check about, is this on brand or not? I feel like that decision is way faster. Like, every day in my inbox, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to partner with you. And, like, have you actually looked at my stuff? Like, no, I'm not going to partner with that. That decision is very easy to make. But the ones are almost, it's like insidious, where you just spend a little bit of time, well, let me just change this, and let me just change this, and let me just change that. And that, to me, is like a red flag for myself of like, just put it out there already.
Yeah.
Just release, like, let it live, let it breathe, stop stifling it and stopping yourself from taking action and moving forward.
Yeah. I know there's this really good book called Bluefishing, which I'm forgetting the dude's name and my phone's over there filming, by Stephen Sims, I think. Oh my gosh, I'm so unprepared. But the book is called Bluefishing, and he's
Steve Sims.
Steve Sims. There you go, Steve Sims. Where he talks about the fact, by the way, it's a great book. He talks about the fact that one of the things that you should be doing is just taking ideas and throwing them out there. And he is a great entrepreneur, by the way. When I read his book, I was like, yes, all these ideas. And then I'd be like, ooh, these ideas are so scary. And I'm like, right, because they're good ideas. Literally, I was like, yes. And then I was like, ooh, that's so scary. Which, if it's scary,
it's a good sign.
It's probably a good thing for you. You should probably be doing that. If you're scared of it, you should probably be looking deeper into that. And there's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it scares you, you should probably be thinking about that more deeply. But he talks about the fact that especially with A/B testing and all that stuff, he's like, forget all that. He's like, that's a bunch of noise. He's like, at the time that you A/B tested something, he's like, you could have been throwing out 24 more ideas and gotten to the real solution.
Yeah.
So in this world, we sometimes just have to put stuff out. And I know we're kind of beating this one down a lot, but the reason why is because I think that we all just have way too much perfectionism right now in our lives. Especially if you're listening to this, you're probably our people. And our people tend to be perfect.
Yeah.
You're all perfect, lovely.
Overachiever perfectionist.
So, and if you're not, please tell us how you do it. I want to know your secrets.
Yeah.
I want to know your secrets because I do.
Well, one thing I want to add to that about perfectionism, I think there's this underlying fear of what will people say? What will others in my industry say if I put this thing out and it's not perfect or it's not whatever. And so I made a list of who was I actually afraid of? And when I put it to paper, I was like, wait, I don't care about them. I don't care. If they were to come at me, I'd be like, yeah, and? So I think, again, shining a light, voicing our fears and really being honest, who would you care about? And then, oh wait, no, I don't actually care. Right?
Totally. And I'm trying to think, I always tell people I have a lot of self-esteem. That tends to be one of my problems is self-esteem. But I will say that I will sometimes hold myself up to a standard of the people that I think are incredibly good at their gig.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, but I want to do it as well as this person because they are so good at their gig. I look at them wow, I want to be that. But then we sometimes forget that the person who is there, they started somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? So Sean Cannell, who is a really good video guy, and he's an entrepreneur who actually goes out there and is do podcasts, make videos, be awesome.
He's also really tall.
He's also crazy tall and a very nice guy.
I come up to his belly button.
But one of the things that he talks about all the time, he's you have to push play.
Yes.
You have to do the things you have to do. Mm-hmm. And he shows his very first videos. And he's like, this is what I looked like when I first started.
Oh my gosh. I just watched my first video from 2012 and it's hilarious.
Right? And he's like, we all start somewhere and it's good to remember that you started somewhere and you ended somewhere. And he's like, that's okay. Mm-hmm. And I think about as a business owner, when I first started my business, I was so proud of it. Mm-hmm. But I look back now and I'm like, but I'm not there anymore. Thank God.
Thank God, yeah.
Right. Thank God I'm not there. Also, as an esthetician, the things that I know now are so much different than the person I was then.
Yeah.
But if I had gone back and I talked to the Sybil I was when I first was in business, she would have been like, there's a funny South Park episode where Cartman goes back in time. It's an homage to Buck Rogers. I'm very old, but if you've ever watched Buck Rogers, Cartman goes back in time and he's like, yeah, I know the future. Don't do these things. And Cartman's like, fuck you. I'm going to do whatever I want. You can't tell me how to live my life. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I would do that same thing. I'd be like, you can't tell me what to do. Yeah. I'm going to live my life just as I'm going to live it. I know everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, gosh. I can just think of, 2012 Alex sitting in my parents' house with my laptop making YouTube videos and then not posting them for 3 weeks because I was afraid.
Right.
She would, tell me to go suck it if I told her, so here's what we're going to do. You're going to go live twice a week. You're going to do... No way.
Right.
But you have to start somewhere and you can't compare, your first act or third act to somebody else's 15th act.
Right.
They've been doing it for a while. And, obviously look at what other people are doing to get ideas and take the one thing that resonates. It doesn't have to look like theirs now if that's what's keeping you from doing it.
Right. So if you have a business idea or if something's holding you back right now and you're like, but I'm not as good as, or I don't think it's ready yet. are you sure? Maybe you should just do it.
Yeah.
Maybe Nike, just do it.
Yes.
I mean, there's a reason. Just do it. It's been around for so long. So the next thing that happens a lot of time to hold us back is when you just want to do it is lack of money.
You're going to say, speaking of Nike.
Right. Is lack of money. Okay. So this is something I think especially with my industry, and I've seen a lot more and more when I have conversations with like baby estheticians, which I call baby esties, that people are like, oh, but I don't have money. Okay. And this is hard because you do need a certain amount of capital to start up a business.
Right.
Like you're like, I have to have rent. I have to have like a few pieces of equipment.
You gotta have a bed.
Right. You really do need a bed. And I'm going to straight up tell you, I have a whole equipment idea one and like podcast of these.
It's
like
coming.
What you should be spending money on. But you actually don't need a huge amount of capital to start. And I look at some of these like Instagram, and once again, Instagram is like the killer of ideas.
Yeah.
It really is. The Instagram is like the killer of ideas.
Everyone's just pretending.
Yeah. So I will at some point show you my space. It is, I mean, it's fine. It's lovely. It's completely nice. But it's not like, woot, woot. Like, it's fine. And this is my 4th location because I needed to get bigger. And I needed to get bigger. And I learned lessons along the way, like, hey, maybe I don't want to be in a front-facing space because I need, like, nobody to walk in. I need no walk-ins.
Right.
So maybe I need a place that's quieter. And maybe I don't need to spend so much in rent because I can have a ghetto location. Mm-hmm. And I just need actually parking. Mm-hmm. And stuff like that. And so what mattered to me was like I had to have my own bathroom. These are the things that mattered to me, and not that I had like this glorious, beautiful spa space. And I think when I was looking at my spaces when I first started, I looked at spaces because I was coming from a spa industry. I worked at a dermatologist, I worked at a plastic surgeon, I worked at a high-end spa, and then I worked at a super ghetto spa. And it was so ghetto. They cleaned things with gasoline.
Stop.
I'm not messing with you. The place was so ghetto. Oh my God. So when I look at these places on Instagram where these girls have these really fancy shops, I have nothing wrong with that. But like what they spent building them out isn't like so expensive. I have fabric on my walls because it's cheaper than paint. And every time I move, it comes with me.
Yeah.
And I can put it back up on my walls again. Because it's cheaper.
Well, and I think also don't get distracted by the external things when really people are coming to you for your expertise, for your hands, for your knowledge.
It's in your
like,
brain. It's
they
in your
don't
heart.
care if your apron is like custom crystal, like, and I keep thinking like, okay, so cool, you got a Maserati and it has all the top things, but like you don't know how to drive. Like, what's the point? The Maserati is worthless if you don't know what you're doing. And I think also people, and Instagram really feeds into this. We're very into like appearances. And, this comes up for me too, because I'm like, well, I don't have a studio and I don't have a physical space of business because I'm primarily online.
Right.
And I don't want to film in my apartment. But it then came down to, is this, and I think the perfectionism as well, am I going to let this get in the way of sharing what I want to share, which is going to change people's lives? It's going to allow them to be more confident. It's going to allow them to, go out and change their own world and their people, And am I really going to be, like, stopped by the brown carpet?
I don't even notice your brown carpet. I notice that your cat is, like, there.
Always in the
I love that Mr. Kitty loves to hang out with you, and that makes me so happy.
Right? So there you go. Like, people don't care. I mean, obviously have a warm and inviting space.
Yeah.
But, like, there are tons of inexpensive ways to make that space look that way. Speaking of the walls, you have fabric on your walls. I've just been watching Queer Eye. Temporary wallpaper. We need to talk. We need to talk.
Super hot. Yeah, and I started, my first space was in my apartment. Mm-hmm. I had 2 cats. And to this day, I have clients who are still with me who are like, I miss your cats.
Aww.
Now, mind you, I had to vacuum like 500 times a day because I had cats. And one of my cats would get in my wax all the time. I'd be like, why are you in my wax, dude? It's a whole mess. But like these are the things that we talk about when you can do it on the kind of cheap. You can start up and it's not as expensive.
Yeah.
There are things that you can get. Also, like when I first started, like I begged and borrowed people for equipment. I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, I to this day have a mag lamp that I got off of somebody and it was broke down and I had it fixed. Like it was duct taped together and I spray painted that duct tape.
I am just learning about this.
And
I'm
I
shocked.
still have it in my backup room because I've had to use it when my main light breaks down. And I'm like, well, good thing I have this backup light.
Yeah. But and that's too. Ask for help when you need. Yeah. Don't worry about being perfect.
Your dad has fixed my steamer.
Yeah, I know. Got a new button.
Her dad fixed my steamer, man. So there are things that you can definitely do that do not need like the top of the top. Know that you can grow, that there are ways that you can find the ways to do it that are not crazy expensive. Now, with spa stuff, you absolutely are going to need some capital, and there are things that you need to think about before you're like, I'm just going out on my own. But starting in your own place, you can do it on the sly. So that's possible.
Yeah.
And then scarcity. So I think that the last one kind of...
We have more.
Oh, good. I'm like,
no. Oh.
So scarcity is something that I think that happens. We have this like fear that there's like what we have is that there's already too much competition.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Now, we both work in an industry. I mean...
Are there any yoga teachers out there? Like,
I'm pretty sure that nobody does what you do. Where you
not in LA.
Teach fitness, help people with their wellness.
No.
I mean, nobody does that, right?
No. I've never met another person.
No, especially like online, right?
Never.
Nobody does that. No. I mean, and in what we do.
Oh, no.
In wellness and health and beauty.
Yeah.
No. The thing is, though...
We're lying, by the way.
Yeah. We're confessing that there are millions of people on every corner.
Everything.
But nobody is you. And quite frankly, what I have found is the more competition there is, the better that is. That means people want what you're doing. Mm-hmm. When there's absolutely zero competition, you kind of have to look around a little bit and be like, do people want what I have? Mm-hmm. Eek.
Well, it's like car dealerships. They're not afraid. You know, in Glendale, where I grew up, there's literally the brand boulevard of cars where all of the car dealerships are.
Right.
Because, you know, people want to shop around. They want to see the value. They need to compare. And exactly like you're saying, nobody is you. And so the fact that there's another esthetician in your town or another, you know, wellness professional online who has a very similar handle, true story, like it doesn't matter. Because people come, again, this goes back to that perfectionism and all the other stuff. They're here for you. They're here for you, your personality, your cats, your dogs. Right. They're here for you and what you have to offer. And the rest is just excuses, and it doesn't matter.
It is just excuses. One of my friends once said, I don't own one pair of shoes. Why would I assume that I only need one like yoga studio? She actually goes to 3 different ones.
Oh my God.
And I was like, point well made. Hopefully you don't see like 4 estheticians. But hey, I wouldn't put it past her. I mean, she has 2 therapists.
Well, you know, you need to know who to ask for help.
That's right.
You have the people who give you what you need.
Also, when I talk about scarcity and our fear of it, it's also sometimes scarcity in what we can provide. Like, do I have enough of myself to give? Do I have enough to spread around? And I think that also is a fear of what we can offer. Know that you have enough. And if for any reason you feel like you don't, kind of like, once again, go back to the list of, is it perfectionism? Mm-hmm. Can I ask for help? Mm-hmm. You know, do I have that like pool? Okay.
But I think that idea of, am I enough? Is this enough? Like, who am I to even do it? Really ties into our 6th fear, which is this lack of confidence and the imposter syndrome, which we need to talk a whole episode about that.
Oh my God.
Like, you are enough. And if you don't believe that for yourself, no amount of equipment or hustling or Instagram post is ever going to make you feel that way. Worthiness is something that you have to find for yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's also like when I spoke to the daily practice of, whatever it is that gets you into that place where you feel confident in what you know and who you are and what you deliver, then everything else is way easier.
Totally.
But you have to find that for yourself.
Very powerful, 100%. This is not one of the ones, like I said, I have very often. So
literally the last 18 months.
This is something.
Ask me how many self-help books I've been reading.
I will say though that I definitely have the imposter syndrome occasionally when I'm learning something new and I feel like I don't have like that perfectionism where I'm like I don't know this inside, outside, backwards because I know like there are things that I know very, very well in my industry, and so like I'll do a video and I'm like I don't know all of that right now.
No, but you just need to know more than the person
down the street. And one of my favorite quotes is, you know what? I have more education than pretty much everybody else on this subject because I did take classes.
Yeah.
And so one of my friends said that once, and I was like, that is true. I did take classes.
Right. And look, you're not. I mean, shoot, there are people who have written books about things that are not experts in it.
That is true.
And just do it anyway.
I know. It's going to be fine. It's all going to work itself out. I remember my second location. I literally was one building over from a major competitor. And she would get all like up in arms about it. And I'd be like, I don't think it matters. Most people don't even know that we're in competition with each other because people have no geographic sense anymore because of the internet.
Yeah.
Right? They're just like, I just Yelp people. I don't know where anybody is, like geographically. I don't walk down streets.
Where my phone tells me to.
Right? And she's like, well, I'm writing a book. And I'm like,
congratulations.
I'm so happy for you. It's never come out. I've always wondered what's happening to her book. Yeah, this is like a decade ago. So there you go. And then... what do we got? Comparison? I kind of think they're kind of the same.
Yeah. Lucky number 7 is comparison.
I was just talking about comparison.
Yeah, but it's such a great trap.
It is.
And the place where I find it to be most triggering is about an hour after I should be in bed and I'm on my phone on Instagram and I'm tired and I'm like my defenses are down.
Yeah.
My worthiness is depleted for the day.
No.
And then you're looking at all the people on Instagram. Like, don't do that, you guys.
No.
Do not torture yourself that way on social media.
It is the thief of joy. So comparison is also known as the thief of joy.
Yeah.
So what'll happen with comparison, and it is actually, they've done a bunch of studies that it's about between 2 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the morning is when our actually circadian rhythms drop and our brain algorithm starts up. It's why we're more prone to shopping. So that's when you'll make really bad purchases. So send out your emails then, people. That's when people will purchase from you. That's why all of the shopping channel stuff happens at that time.
Right. Because they're just mindlessly buying.
Because you're more prone. It's also why you do all the bad picking at that time between 2 and 4 o'clock in the morning. You'll just make you make bad choices. Nothing good happens after 2 a.m.
You should be in bed.
You make bad choices.
But unfollow people if you have to.
Yeah.
And also know that you never know the whole story.
No, it's probably fake.
It's probably fake. You don't know what that person is dealing with. You don't know what the relationships are like. You just don't know. So instead of comparing, I like to go, oh, that's cool. I like that tip. Thanks. Yeah. And then move on.
Right. Or like, hey, I would also like to be living that and I can aspire to that.
Yeah. That's another great, I like that reframe about, seeing other businesses and saying, how cool that she got that. Now I know what's possible.
Yeah, because I do a lot of that with other businesses. That's how I've made actually some of my best connections with business owners who I like. It's like, hey, I really love what you're doing. And I'm like, how are you getting that done? And you'd be surprised, most cool business owners are like, yeah, let me tell you what's going on. Sometimes they're like, it's a hot mess. And you're like, whoa, now I've discovered the hot mess. But a lot of times they're just like, yeah, let me help you out. I mean, it's how I've actually found a lot of my mentees is they reach out to me and I'm like, hey, I'm happy to like talk to you about stuff. It's cool like that.
It all feeds back. Ask for help.
Ask for help, man.
Ask for help.
Yeah. So that is the 7 fears to beat to get your 6 figures. because I think those are the primary reasons that you get held back. When over the years, as I've like kind of looked at like what's really stopped me at times from like really kind of getting to the next level, it's always one of those.
Always. And like we said too, this is a daily process. But it's like skin fitness. It's like physical fitness. You don't get to work out once a year and be like, woo, I'm done. You know, wash your face once a year. Yeah, I'm done. It's something you do every day.
It's a constant recheck. It's a constant check-in.